All righty, tonight we've got Mr. Cadence on with us tonight. He's a master electrician. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs of the electrical trade, how we got there, and why it drew him to it. So, welcome to it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Oh, this is so cool. Yeah, Mr. Cadence, we'll go ahead and start with if you want to check out kind of some of my work, I have a YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel, my wife and I, but it's Nature's Cadence Farm, and I'm sure Derek will put a link down below there in the description, I'm sure, for the channels. And also check out, I have a neighbor, you can check out Chainsaw Hospital too. But anyway, so that's that. He does some really good work over there. But yeah, man, golly, where should I start? Let's go way back in the time machine. I was in high school, and
Okay.
I needed, I didn't. I was getting pushed by my school to go to college, go to college, go to college. Everybody needs to go to college, and eventually I did. Eventually, um, but my grandpa, he had told me, he's like, "Hey, you should go ahead and get a um, a trade under your belt." And he didn't say, one way or the other, like masonry or carpentry or electrical work, plumbing or HVAC or anything. Like, he just said, get a trade. He's like, nobody can ever take that away from you.
For sure.
Once you get that, you've always got something to fall back on, because regardless of the way the economy goes, if you get into a specialized field, you're kind of locked in, and then you don't really have anywhere to go. But what he was saying was, and it makes sense now, when I was 16, 17,
Of,
it did not, it didn't
yeah.
ring. It
Yeah.
was like, okay, yeah, sure, pops, or sure, grandpa, whatever. My dad was a carpenter, and then my grandpa, he was a maintenance supervisor at a local plant. And so I mean, it runs in the blood, I guess. But so anyway, so he told me, get a trade under my belt. So I said, all right, I mean, that makes sense. He could see that I really like working with my hands. I like, I like the work. I like to work. So, but yeah, so what I did, so I thankfully at my school, and I'm sure there's many of them are all over the country. And if these kids don't really know exactly how to get started, maybe just look around. But I had a VOTEC school. A VOTEC school was available to me through my high school, and so I had an opportunity to join a the VOTEC school in high school. So what the way the program was for us, now it could be different at any other school, and I'm sure you have experience with this too, maybe. But what happened was they took you in your sophomore year. Yeah, sophomore year, you had a little tour um of the facility, and then you could kind of choose what you wanted to do the next year if you wanted to be involved in the VOTEC school. So I went, and they had all the trades. They had, auto mechanics was one that was really high on my list, because I really liked working on cars. And small engine repair was on the list, and many other things. Auto body was on there, carpentry. So, anyways, but I had not chosen made a decision yet to do electrical work. And but then I found out the small engine shop had been closed down, and so they weren't doing the small engine repair anymore. And anyway, so I really was kind of bummed about that. But I was like, the electricians are moving into the building, the area that the small engine shop was in. I'll just do that. That's a trade. That's good enough. So anyways, got in there and absolutely loved it. I was like, I don't know, a shoe in. It's hard to explain, but this is it for me. I didn't know, but this was it. So, but yeah, I mean, anybody out there that's watching this, if you have a desire to do that kind of work, just try it out. Because like I said, I didn't know. I didn't know. And when I got started, I was like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. I didn't know it was this cool. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And so from there, I had what we would do, junior year, you went in gosh, I think in the mornings. I know it was opposite. Like junior year, we went in the mornings for 4 hours, came back at lunchtime, or
Right.
a little bit before. And then senior year, we would yeah, that's what it was. We would do our classes in the morning and then leave to go to VOTEC in the afternoon. So that was kind of nice because you were just flip flopping with the other class. You were just so it was always rotating like that. So, but yeah. Anyways, short story long. We so I graduated and I had okay. This is an excellent opportunity for people, even older people, really that are involved that want to get involved in the trades. Um, so at my VOTEC school, we actually had contractors come in and interview us, which was awesome because that gave us like real world experience with a job interview. And they prepped us at our VOTEC school. I don't know if everyone does it, but at least that's what ours did.
Right.
Um, they kind of prepped us, said, hey, you're going to sit down with this guy. You're going to talk about this. You're going to tell him about this. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. This is what you understand. This is what you don't understand. As always, it's okay, because that's who you are. That's what you need to
Right.
tell them. And so I got hired. I had a job coming out of high school. I was an apprentice electrician. Literally the day I graduated, I could have started that afternoon if I wanted to. That's how desperate they are for people.
Hey man,
So,
can you explain what an apprentice is to people
oh,
listening?
yeah, sure. So when to back up the train a little bit, what we're going to do is I'm going to say you become an apprentice, and then you train under a journeyman or a master. Typically, you're going to have somebody who's guiding you through this process. And typically, with a larger company, they're going to have an apprenticeship program. So you're going to go through the apprenticeship program or be an apprentice for a while, and you're going to get that on the job training that's required for you to set for your journeyman's license. So, and that's the next step as a journeyman. And you take a test and you qualify yourself, I guess. You qualify yourself by having on the job training and classroom time, college credit hours. All that is required before you're even set for your test. So you have to prove that with the state. So in my state, you have to have, and this could be different with any other state. You have to have a certain amount of hours. You have to have a certain amount of on the job training, and then you can set for your test. So that's the next step as a journeyman, and then after you're a journeyman for at least a year, that's the time period there. Then you can set for your master test. And the master test, again, is the same qualifications, more classroom time, more on the job training, and somebody signing you off that says, yes, he has been doing electrical work for this amount of time, for this many hours. And that's how it works. So that's what an apprenticeship program, or that's what an apprentice is someone who's learning the trade,
Gotcha.
who is working with a card carrying individual who is training them to do electrical work or any trade for that matter. So,
And
so yeah,
and can you explain why the journeyman's card is so important once you get to that step?
right. So, um, if you're not, and it's nothing wrong with not having a card. Absolutely not. That means it means you're at that helper level. You're coming in, you're a helper. You're going to be toting the pipe up the stairs. You're going to be climbing the ladder. You're going to be putting the connectors together. You're going to be pulling the wire. You're going to be, you're going to be in the trenches, literally, and that's okay. That's part of the process. If you don't do that, then you don't have that appreciation for what your apprentice is doing for you. So and that's something like I've had people working with me, for me, under me, and over time, and I can tell them you're not doing anything I haven't done. I was there. I've done it. I've been there. I've shoveled literally water out of trenches to run pipe in it with coffee cups, or whatever. I've been there. I've been literally knee deep in mud. I've been out there in the rain. I've been on the roof. I've been, so that's part of the process is being exposed to all these things that make you appreciate, okay, I've done that work. I've been there, and it's not like a hazing thing or anything like that. It's just
It
that's
it's part of the it's just part of the journey, right?
it's part of the journey, right? Yeah. So that's the process. You're an apprentice, you're a helper, you do
L
the
let
work.
me let me ask you this, man. While you were doing that, going through the apprenticeship, um, I know I kind of keep rerouting us here, but while we're here, I'm glad you went through the entire step process, from journeyman to master, but or from apprentice to master. But um, while you were an apprentice, did you understand that why you were doing it? Was it explained to you, hey, you're doing this so that you can progress and it's going to help you later on in your career, or did you just kind of already know that?
It wasn't expressed by everyone I worked for, but the with someone who has the ability to listen and observe, you get that. If you're
Right.
someone who has to be told everything in their life, then you're not going to be able to pick up on that's why I'm doing this. It's for a reason. I don't need to ask why. I just need to do it because that's part of my
Yeah,
job. It doesn't matter at this point because it's the job. It's just what has to be done.
I got you.
So yeah, some people explained inherently people are better teachers than others. Some are,
Sure,
some
sure.
it just all depends on who you work for. I got lucky. I got put with some really good guys. Most of them, I will say, not all, or not everybody, which is fine. You can go
That
to Walmart and find 10
that's
good
it.
people,
That's everywhere. Yeah, that's everywhere.
right? And 10 of them, you can find 100 people, 10 of them are good people, and 90 of them aren't. Who knows, whatever. But I got lucky. I really did because the guys I worked with were super engaged and really good tradesmen, really good craftsmen. They knew the process. They knew what's really helpful. I will tell you this is working with someone who is experienced in the way it was, the way it used to be, and they're willing to take on the way it's going to be. Because just because we did that 10 years ago doesn't mean that's the way we do electrical work today.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, because the codes they're always changing. New codes books are coming out, new regulations, new OSHA stuff, new everything, I mean, so I've been an electrician now for, well, since 1998 officially. I had been doing, I dabbled in it before that, but let's just say 98. So yes, I'm old. So so but yeah, if I guess, yes, to answer your question, there were people out there, but so for me, I didn't follow the traditional route of apprentice, journeyman, master electrician, as you would think. And stop me if this is getting too far into the weeds or this is
Nope.
okay.
We're right on
Um,
track.
okay, so when I got out of high school, I got my construction job with a local contractor, and I'm gonna tell you what, kids, if you watch this, great pay, decent work. It's hard, yes, but it's. I'm telling you, you come out of school, you're making good money for who you are and what you got. I mean, I will tell you that. I mean, electrical work has never let me down. Uh, it's paid my bills. It's put food on the table, kept a roof over my head. For years, years and years and years. So, but what I was getting to was, I got out of high school. I worked my construction job for a year, almost a year. Okay, and then I had an opportunity to work at a local college, and the college. was willing to take me on. I knew the supervisor, and that helps. It's the game. You got to know people, guys. You
It's
gotta.
not the it's not the grades you make, it's the hands you shake.
It's the hands you shake. Yeah, exactly. And so what happened was I got on at the college and I was scared to death because that was a huge facility with stuff I had no knowledge about, no experience with, or anything like that. But I had I wanted to be involved, and that was part of it. If you want to be involved, you just got to put yourself out there and just do it. So I got on. I was so thankful. I was like, wow, how in the why did they hire me? I'm nobody. I'm just a kid. Literally, I was 18 years old. Literally 18 years old. Was the only electrician on that campus. Was taking care of everything that required electrical work. It's like, oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. But that's what I'm saying. I didn't take the traditional work under a master for so many years and this and this and this. So it it, it kind of or a journeyman or whoever for that matter. But what I did do was I was exposed to everything you could possibly think of for. I mean, it was a 24/7 facility. I mean, they they were it was people there all the time. So anyways,
But the key takeaway from that was you were, I mean, it was a little overwhelming because I mean that was a lot to ask out of somebody in your position, but you were not afraid to step in there and do that.
not at all. And thankfully over there we had some really good people to work with. Like these guys were super knowledgeable, and so that's something else for people who are thinking about getting involved in the trade. Humble yourself. If you think stop, ask somebody, and make sure what you're getting ready to do is the right thing. Stop and think and be like, you know what, maybe I should ask Joe. Joe has done this before. I know I'm here and that's my job, but Joe has been here longer than me. I'm going to go ahead and ask Joe, and make sure that I'm on the right track, and it's okay. And if anybody gives you a hard time about that, then that's not the person you want to ask anyways.
Man, I'm so glad. That was my next question. Is how do you deal with somebody when you're trying to learn and you're trying to ask questions and you do have that person that you come along and it's not just the trades, it's any industry in the world. I mean, you're going to have those people that have done it before or maybe that maybe is in the same position as you and you're asking a bunch of questions. um yeah,
You
that
can
was
just
perfect.
turn
Answer
that
that
off.
perfect.
Yeah. So, and I've ran into that, and it's frustrating because you want to learn. You want to be you want to be the best you can be. You want to be like, man, I want to save the planet. We're going to
That's right.
we're going to fix everything, and that's cool. Some people are not as motivated. Oh, or this is all right. So this is what I've ran into. Typically, people that don't take the time or don't have the knowledge, that's just it. They don't know. And then so they're going to come back with, "Oh, you should know that. Everybody knows that." Well, then you just answered my question. You don't know.
Do you know it? Yeah.
So then, okay, all right, that's cool. I'm gonna go ask somebody else. So here we go. And well, like I said, you'll find out. If you guys are kind of like on the fence about, you hear about, and construction work is tough. It is tough. The people are tough. The uh, the the job can sometimes be tough. You've got deadlines to meet. You've got you got different crafts you're working with, different trades. Everybody's trying to get their thing done. Typically, electricians. I don't know if you're familiar. You might not be familiar with this, but there's a hierarchy. It's like HVAC is up top, plumbing, datacom, and then like electrical. It seems like down here on who gets the right of way. So if you got a hallway and you've got a duct work in the middle of it, well, you don't get to run your 4-inch piece of pipe right through the hallway, and then the ductwork has to do an offset around it and go. Well, that's just not going to happen. HVAC gets the, the right of way. And so it's, it's like, it's always, it seems like, oh, I tried to do the best I can, but it's, so it is challenging, but once you get kind of the hang of it, and communication, guys, communication. Oh, I've seen so many fights out there, not fist fights, well, some, but verbal, whatever. These guys, they're tough, man. They're out there every day. They're tough. Um, but yeah, if so, I guess I was really lucky. I really was lucky, thankful about it too, because I got to go into that maintenance position, and it was beyond pulling wire and bending pipe. It was beyond installing outlets in a house and sealing fans. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. You guys are out
But
there.
you but you got to see the full scope of the trade though. I mean, you got to
Yeah,
see, you
yeah.
know,
Because so where I worked, we owned houses. We owned houses that needed work. These houses were used for faculty or staff, or offices. Sometimes we would buy them and convert them into office buildings. So I got to do a lot of residential, and a lot of that stuff, like a lot of the buildings, they would purchase, and then they would convert it, or they would be apartments. They would rent them out. Sometimes they'd rent them out to
right.
people. So I got to see residential. I got to see industrial, because we had a steam plant. We had um all the high voltage stuff, the transmission stuff all over. And then I also got to do some commercial stuff too, because we had um a retail space that sold, you know, cups and jackets and, things like
Right.
that, with, bookstores with the word I was trying to look for. But so it was kind of neat. I got to see, like you said, man, I got to see the whole spectrum all in one place. So if you guys really want to learn something, get into maintenance in a place like that, and you'll get to learn stuff that nobody could ever take away from you. You can
And
take it home with you, you know.
uh man, that's a really good point. It was the same way for me coming up. Uh it was like, the maintenance job is like, they're kind of, man, they're way down here. And like,
Right.
you need to go to school. Um which I'm sure we're probably, me and you are not far from, the same age group, but it was like, they constantly push college, and it was like look down on maintenance and stuff. And to me, man, I mean, the guys I grew up around, and my dad's friends and stuff, I mean, to me, I mean, they were, I mean, driving, Tracos, skid steers, they're wiring houses, barns up. And I looked at them, and they were kind of like heroes to me. And still to this day, I mean, I still talk to a bunch of them. And to me, I was just like, that's what makes the world turn, man. I was like, I mean, and I'm not putting down any education or anything, because I mean, I have that as well. But it's like the idea that you put something down because of this title called maintenance. I mean, that to me is, I think that is so backwards in how things work. That's the foundation of things, and how
Right.
the society runs. And, you know, um, I think I think the stigma, from what I've seen over the last couple of years, I think that stigma is going away. And I think younger people have started to wake up, and they're kind of seeing exactly what you have talked about for the last little bit. And they're like, well, I can go and get a 4-year degree, or I can go and do this and make more money. I'm going into maintenance, and I can make
Sure.
just as much money, but within 4 years, make a lot more money, run my own outfit and do everything. And I'm really glad that that stigma is kind of going away. Um, but it held a stronghold for a long time, um,
Yeah.
in our
Yeah. When I
society.
was, you know, growing up, uh, straight up blue collar family. Like, so my mom was an office uh like scheduler for a construction company, for multiple construction companies. And she worked at a garage door place selling, scheduling the installs of garage doors and taking orders, so, and my dad building houses, and just construction, carpentry work. I mean, he did trim work, he built cabinets, he did cabinetry, um, things like that. So I mean, for me, everybody we hung out with, that was not the view, the
Right.
stigma. You know what I'm saying? Because I was immersed in, my dad's friends were concrete people,
Yeah.
or they poured concrete for a living, or asphalt, or they laid asphalt, or they were plumbers, or they were they tree workers, they arborists,
Tree workers. Yep.
yeah, that it was all those people, or they worked for themselves cutting firewood and ran a farm. That's what they did. That was their living. They come up with these little businesses where they would, well, this, for 5 years or whatever, we're in the firewood business. We're cutting wood. We're cutting wood, whatever. Okay, well, that kind of fizzled out or whatever. Well, they'll move on to something else. We're into the raising turkey business now. It's like it's
Right.
always something new. They're always trying to,
Right.
find this
But they
thing.
make it work though.
Yeah, they make it work, right? Hardworking people, man. I mean, it's out there
Absolutely.
day in, day out. Christmas morning out there, the drill, out there doing the same thing they did the day before,
100%.
because that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and
Um,
when you grow up around that, I mean, you really as a young kid, I mean, like yourself, uh myself, I mean, when I seen that, I was just, I mean, you kind of become encapsulated by it. And you're just like, that's, dude, it's sleeting, it's raining, it's Christmas morning. Like, it is rough conditions, and we're out here doing this, and there's somebody that has never experienced this before going to tell me that this isn't life. I have a
right,
hard time believing that, you know.
right.
And I think
Yeah, I
there's a
mean,
lot of people that like exactly what you're describing. I think there's a lot of people that see that disconnect, and I think that's why we're starting to see that shift.
right. Yeah, a lot of the kids, I grew up in a rural area. I know you did too, where there was a lot of. Thankfully, I did. I mean, I love this life. I don't know
Me
if
too.
if Nature's Cadence Farm. If you kind of look at it on the YouTube, you'll kind of see what we're all about. We got some land, and we like to play around on it and grow food. That's really
We're
what
going to
it's
dive
about.
into that here in just a minute.
Right, right. So, but for me, it it really wasn't. I didn't know any better. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It was just
Right.
like, well, this is life. This is what you do. I mean, you got a tree down on the road. Well, you don't call somebody to go clean the thing up. You go get the thing out the road because you got, Farmer Joe down the road. Well, he's got to get his cattle off, or whatever. I know he's trying to get through here, or whatever, the drill, whatever. It's you, well, all right, well, we got to take care of it. Nobody else
Absolutely.
is. So, but anyway,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so that's going back to the college stuff. When I was there, that's something that I wasn't used to, and I didn't realize exactly what the impact would be. I was on call once a month for a week at a time, and so I just want to bring that up real quick before we get off that topic on something else. But
Sure.
for you guys that are maybe thinking about a career in this, just remember, you sit down for Thanksgiving dinner, you're going to get a call. I don't know why it happens like that, but that's something you give up. And I know my wife, Mrs. Cadence, she dealt with that. I mean, golly, for what, 11 years? Yeah, somewhere in there. Um, it just became part of what you did. And if you're into maintenance, I just want to let people know, just understand that's going to be expected of you, I'm sure, regardless of where you go. So not that that's bad. I mean, it's like it's the drill. It's
But you, um, thank you for bringing that up. But you enjoy going in knowing that when you leave work, you're like, I made a difference.
right.
Today, I made a difference. You
Yeah,
know, there's a lot of jobs that, and again, I'm not putting down anybody, but there's a lot of jobs that I have talked to people that I have not worked, but and they tell me I have no self-fulfillment. I just, when I
right.
leave, I don't feel like I don't feel like that last 8 to 10 hours made any difference for anybody,
Yeah.
and when you leave and you lost power at the mains.
Right. Right.
You've got this building over here is they're having some issues, intermittent, whatever it may be.
Right. The
You
the
show
toilet
up and
didn't
fix it.
flush. The water
Right.
pressure's too low, the toilets aren't flushing. Well, that's a problem.
That's a problem. And
That's
you
a big
fix
problem.
that. Yeah, and you fix that and you go, I yeah, I sacrificed some time, but the hundreds of people that are using that, in the back of your mind, you're like, you know, like, I mean, there's a sense of gratitude there,
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I worked on all the elevators over there. That's another thing. Like I said, they get the whole thing. You don't know how upset people can be until they lose their elevator.
Oh, but I do.
Okay.
I do.
But it's like, and then when you fix it, you're like, they're high fiving you. You're like, woo, woo, hollering and fuzzing and carrying on and high fiving and bringing you cookies and snacks and stuff. And it's like, well, I was a piece of trash when it was down, and now you're giving me a hug. So I'll take it, good
I'll take it. Yeah.
enough. So, but yeah, you're right. Very fulfilling, super fulfilling. I was in maintenance, and then I left and I was doing some manufacturing work. So I changed over after I got my master license. So while I was at that previous job doing maintenance work, I got my master license, and then so then I was able to use, to sit on that
Right.
at the college, and sit on that. And then when I left, I was very employable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Very, very employable. So again, literally one phone call to one person. Hey, I'm ready to leave this job. When do you want me to
Yep.
start? And it was like, yeah, start Monday. Okay. All right, that's cool. Well, give me 2 weeks because I'm going to tell them, and then I'll be in on that Monday. Oh, okay, cool. So then that's something I wanted to cover real quick was like, I've never been without, I know
Job
it's
security.
job security. Yeah. If I can't get a job here, it'll be a job somewhere else. I might have to drive a little ways, or whatever, but they're building, they're building everywhere, everywhere. Even in the rural areas, you see it every day driving down farmland lost. Houses being put up. Joe
Yep.
Public's building their little houses with a little paved driveway and a little garage thing, and yeah, there you go.
So, so much job security within the crafts. Um, I'm sure you being a master, you probably get along with all the other stuff that you do. I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity for revenue, whether or not you charge people for it or not. I mean, that's up to you. But if you lost your job today, you could go on Indeed or whatever website you want to, and you look up job experience master electrician. You're
Right.
going to be, I mean, by the end of the week, you're going to be sitting in a new office and
Yeah.
you're going to be doing a new job.
Right. So with that level of experience, and I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying for anybody who has that level of experience, you might not be in the trenches with the boys. Just putting that out there. You might
Right.
be project managing at that point.
Absolutely.
Um, but if the boss man comes down to you and says, "Hey, I'm gonna need you down in the trenches with the boys next week. We got a big job we're wrapping up." All right, we'll grab the tools and head out. That's what gives you the flexibility uh, of having the experience, which is why you go through this whole process. The whole process is the reason for it all. The whole process, you learn everything. You've been there, you've done that, and then when again, someone they'd probably, if I was looking for something, it would probably be like I said, project management, or it'd be, um, it could be that kind of work where you're overseeing. You'd be in a management position, which I'm going to tell you, I was in and did not enjoy it nearly as much as I did swinging wrenches. Um,
It's not
Yeah,
for everybody.
it's not for everybody, and it wasn't for me. And I have zero problem, zero problem telling people like I tried it. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna do 100% of everything you ask that I need. But it just
All right, guys, one of my big time sponsors of the show, pimpmypublic.com/org, is doing an Alaskan giveaway for turkey hunts this year. The first two winners is going to go on an all inclusive bush plane ride. They'll actually put you on a cruise ship and you'll be right up there. You'll port in Nome, Alaska, and then from there you'll go and hunt the entire state of Alaska for the wild turkey. It's all inclusive for the first two winners at pimpmypublic.com/org, which has been a phenomenal sponsor of my podcast and a big supporter. So I'm very thankful for them. Um, their background is if you want to go out of state, I get asked every year, hey, Derek, where are you going to go this year? And I go, I don't know. Let me open up pimpmypublic.com/org. And then I flip it open and I go, which one of the 54 states do I want to go hunt this year? So I'll scroll through and I go, oh, hey, look at that. There's Maine. And then I'll select Maine. I go to it and I'll find, Farmer John or, Miss Jan Jackson, whoever. And it's hundreds of farmers, thousands of farmers with millions of acres just for you. And all you have to do is go to the app, download it, put it on your phone, your Pixel, your flip phone, your brick phone, your Nokia, whatever it is. Get on there, interact with the farmers and the landowners, get out there, go hunting, take a youth, take whoever, and enjoy the great outdoors. But this year, if you're lucky, you can win one of the two spots to go to Alaska and hunt turkeys. I hope this works out for you and good luck to you. So we're good now.
Now we're recording.
All right.
So yeah, management, it just wasn't for me, and I knew that, and it didn't take long for me to realize. So that's kind of why I went to that electronics assembly place where I was doing manufacturing, and then after that, I'm back in maintenance again. So I'm swinging that big key ring and got all them tools with me and everything, and but I'm very happy. I am this. I'm very happy with where I am as far as employment now, and I don't. I know I'm back where I started. I guess if you can say that. So.
And isn't it funny how life happens in a full circle like that?
It does. It does. It's what I cut my teeth at a really young age in the workforce doing this, and now I'm just back in it again. And it's new. It's a new game, but
Right.
it's old hat for me. It's the whole process. The maintenance process for me is just it's great.
Right.
So.
Well, man, let's talk about Nature's Cadence and how you got into homesteading and why you think that it was so important to make that transition to do that.
Yeah. So, well, really, to be honest, Mrs. Cadence was actually she was the main driving factor in why it was important for me until I realized later that I should have been more involved with that. I was content, young. We were young, and she's such a forward thinker. And I'm more like stuck in the past, kind of like, yeah, it's all good, whatever. But
I will
yeah,
make
so
it.
yeah, we'll make it. It's all right. Yeah. So for us though, the importance of homesteading for us was kind of kind of seeing that the system is so fragile. These small little things had happened for us, and we kind of noticed that the system was easily broken, and we didn't want to be caught in a
Right.
place where we felt compromised or um, not able to kind of move forward, I guess, from our
You
life.
you didn't want to be stuck in the McDonald's line when the grid went out.
Right, right, exactly right. Yeah. So for us, when we actually had I guess later on it kind of really brought to light what was going on, and what we were thinking wasn't crazy, which we'll get into that in just a minute. But we had a derecho come through, uh, uh, and it took the power out for a week, and we
Yep.
really didn't get. This is when we were in a house. So what had happened was we realized at that point it's so um, it, people were being violent toward each other, for gas, for food, for basic things like that. And so that kind of really brought to light when we were at that house, and which I'll talk about the our process that we how we got going through the homesteading when homesteading wasn't cool to still homesteading when homesteading is cool now. um
Um, before we go anymore, man, a derecho, for anybody listening, up to that point, I didn't know what it was either. They call it a flat line wind,
right,
and it is just a super, super powerful wind. It's not really like a tornado. It comes through and it just absolutely causes destruction, and it caused a lot of destruction at that time.
right, yeah.
So,
So the power lines were down from, gosh, I think it was from Ohio to South Carolina or something like that. It was lines. It was devastating,
it was
and so
everywhere. Yeah.
it was everywhere. Yeah, and it wasn't just our location. It was very broad, very broad. So there was crews. Those linemen out there were out there just killing it for you know 24 hours a day. All the whole time. So anyways, so that kind of for me, I know that really solidified, like, wow, we are very, very vulnerable as a society, and me as an individual. I was prepared. We had a generator, not saying that's a world fix all end all, but nonetheless, we were able to keep our freezers. We had two freezers. Well, we had a refrigerator freezer combo and a chest freezer. It was an upright freezer or whatever, deep freezer. So for us, it wasn't bad. We had a basement. That was key to survival for me. I don't like it hot. I'm a big baby. Um, so uh, so what happened was, we were able to run the generator with enough gas that we had. We didn't even have to go out and buy gas. We had enough on hand that we were able to run it, for that. So but again, Mrs. Cadence, she had this vision that, so when we bought our first farm, our daughter wasn't even a year old at that point. And so we had bought our first farm, and it was a large piece of property. It wasn't as large as some, but much larger than most people's yards. This was a big enough property to have horses and goats on at the same time, chickens, quail, big quail, um, Coturnix quail. So, but that was to answer your question. The driving factor was we wanted to be able to provide for our daughter regardless of what situation happened. We didn't want to be caught out there
With your pants
like,
down.
oh no, yeah, oh no, what do we do now? We don't know how to do anything. So we decided at that point we're going to learn how to fix everything. We're going to learn how to preserve food. We're going to learn how to raise chickens. That's where we actually started hatching our own
It
chickens and
always
our own.
starts with the chickens.
Yeah, it's the gateway chick. There's the
It
gateway
is.
animal.
It is. Yep.
So we had these chickens, and we're like, all right, we're gonna buy an incubator. I drove, we found it on Craigslist back when Craigslist was a cool thing. Now it's not so much anymore, but drove out there, got it for literally pennies on the dollar because somebody had bought it for a science fair project and was like, we don't need this crap anymore. We're moving. And got an egg turner, got our abilities to hatch eggs has improved every time we hatch a batch, and we've gotten from that probably less than 50% ratio hatch ratio up into the 80-90% hatch ratio, which is not difficult for some, but some people only hatch 1 out of 10 eggs or
Right.
um
Right.
yeah. So and I'm not saying we're the best. We could lose a whole batch the next time we do them. I'm
Sure.
saying
That's
um
life. Yeah.
that's life, yeah, and it happens. But we know, through doing this, that's how it goes. But so we bought that first farm. We had all these animals. We had horses, which Mrs. Cadence, she really liked horses, way 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 from a young age. Wanted to have horses, and we did. We had three at one point, didn't we? Yeah, we had three. Three. I'm looking at Mrs. Cadence right over there. If you guys didn't know,
Uh,
but yeah, had three horses. We had some goats. We had a billy. Had a couple nannies. Um, we raised a bunch of goats. We sold. We had a boar goat. We only had one boar goat, which is a meat goat if you weren't familiar. And then we had some. What were those guys? Nubians? Is that what they were? Yeah, Nubians, which are a dairy goat if you weren't familiar with that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. That first farm, we did a lot of growing together, physically and emotionally, on that farm. And then so yeah, and then so we sold that. We knew we wanted more, and we wanted more, not more in the sense of consume, 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 but we wanted more in the way of what we'll call resources, and
to
those,
here. Yes.
yeah, the close by.
Not expansion, but more in this circle.
Right, right. So we'll talk
That's a
about
different that's a different let's touch on that real quick. That's a very different mindset than the generation that come before you. Um and I'm not here to point fingers or anything like that, but the parking lot idea, yeah, the strip mall idea, it was to expand, consume, and it was just to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to what Mr. Cadence is saying is we have this we have this property here, and we're trying to put as much as we can in here and make this as efficient as we can make it. It's not about buying his neighbor's property. It's not buying the next
no,
neighbor's and turning it into a strip mall or a Chinese restaurant. It's about
no.
making this as efficient as we can make it for us and be as sustainable as we can. Correct?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So resources we'll talk about, like wood, trees. You can heat your home with that. You can build things with that.
You
If
build
you
your
have
home
the
with that.
ability, you can build your home. Sure, yeah. You can build your barns. You can, you can build, you can make a bridge. You can you see what I'm saying? So where we were before was great. And I take nothing away from that, but we bought that place, and we sold it because we wanted, again, more resources available to us. So that meant more property, to
Right.
be honest, and more property. But we had a certain amount of criteria that had to be met for us to purchase another piece of property. So we sold that place and we bought a foreclosure home. And the foreclosure home, we bought to sell, and so we fixed it up and we flipped it and made money off of it, which is what we do. Which again adds to the homesteading mentality of we will provide for ourselves. Um,
Self-reliance.
yeah, self-reliance. So we needed capital. There's no doubt about that. That's what something else we needed to talk about was, if you're going to go out there and buy a property, guys, it's great. By all means, if you think that's your life, please, go for it. But you have to have 20% down. There's no two ways about it.
For
You
land without a house on it.
For land, yeah, for
No
land without a
dwelling.
house, or land with a house, but just a large
A
piece of
large
property.
amount. Yep.
20% down. So that's what we did. We went through Farm Credit. I'm not sponsored by them by any means. It's just I have a good experience with them, and they helped us out. Not out of their way. They did business. That's what they do. But they did good business. So I don't mind giving them a plug that if you are looking for land, that you can go through them, and they will definitely walk you through the process of how to go forward. And um, that whole, it's different. It's different than getting a
Right.
mortgage for a house.
Right.
It's because it's just different. It's land. So um, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Why do you think um why do you think there was a major push here in the last, well, it's gonna be a dead giveaway here, but in the last, say, 4 to 5 years, why do you think there's been this major push to leave these cities to
Yeah.
start this? Because the homesteading trend has went berserk, man. I mean, it's everybody is trying to have chickens. They're trying to have their own source of meat. They're trying to do, and I guess I'm gonna go out on a limb and say people are probably tired of eating yoga mat meat at McDonald's. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's true. Maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like through all of the different things that I look at, it just seems to me like there's a major push toward separating themselves from the system, the matrix, you could say, right?
Right. Right. I'm going to go a little deeper with your question than what you were kind of asking. But if you go back, we'll say 20 years from today, that's when we started homesteading. And
Before it was mainstream.
but yeah, we were homesteading before it was cool. And we didn't have TikTok and InstaFace and MyFace or whatever they got out there these days. Um, I'm just saying we didn't have that. It wasn't a thing. YouTube, all right. So okay, YouTube was invented or came out in what, 2001?
Yeah,
Okay, we didn't have YouTube. What was on YouTube was a joke at that point. Okay, we started in with 2004. We started in 2004 homesteading. Um, again, the dinosaurs, we had to fight them off the land first, spears and things, but we got it. We had to do it. We wanted this land. Dinosaurs, we had to, get them out of here. Gotta go, gotta go. So anyway, so
absolutely.
so we got them gone. Anyway, so we just, yeah. So I think, to answer your question, the reason people believe that homesteading is the life for them, and that they would like to be more self-reliant or independent from the system, is because they saw the fragility. They saw it as a piece of glass that was easily broken,
Fragile.
fragile, very, very fragile. And when one, literally, you can break a whole sheet of glass with a pin point that's a millimeter. You can break that whole sheet with just one little point, and that's all it took. That whole sheet of glass popped as soon as one thing happened. One thing that was planned happened. So uh, so with that, I think a lot of people kind of noticed that, hey, we're we're susceptible. We can be influenced and changed by this action. And I think a lot of people opened their eyes, became awake, aware.
Sure.
They said, hey, we really need to do something. But with all that being said, the resources that are available today to homesteaders um, are astronomically higher than what we started with, and we're kind of riding that wave with them. We're taking advantage of what's out there.
For
If
sure.
somebody
Yeah.
somebody writes a book, somebody makes a YouTube video, somebody has a, a, a fishing reel or whatever they call it out there, that you can learn what you can learn from them. I mean, other people, we made mistakes. We make mistakes. We still make mistakes. We lose animals. Things
But you
happen all the time.
but y'all I but y'all understood at, I mean, 27 years ago, y'all understood that. That's my point of getting across here is, to other folks, is you and your wife understood that there is a very weak system in place and that you did not want to be a part of it. And as much as we want to disconnect from it, it is very hard to do that
Yes.
in modern day America. And you do the
Yeah.
best that you can. And I think that is just I'm sure anyone else is listening. That I mean, that is so cool, man. Anybody that I've
Yeah.
talked to that does something well before, the cool wave, I
Yeah.
think that is just really cool. And I've seen
We,
that in the turkey hunting world, like
right.
turkey hunting now, it's like all everybody's all in, but man, we was doing this 20 something years ago, before it was cool.
Right.
And like so you see the
Right.
transition of things. And I just think I think that our grandparents, man, the greatest generation that ever was. You've seen how they were and how they lived, and you know, uh, I think you said it best, and how easy life got over the last 50 years or
Sure.
so,
Sure.
and it made us soft. It made Americans soft. It just made people soft in general. But
Right.
you look at those folks and they some of them literally walk to work. Like I know people that in
Sure.
that age that literally walk to work on top of a mountain, do cannery work
Yeah.
and the appreciation level that they had for things. And I think that kind of touches in kind of when you're talking about, having satisfaction in your work in the trades. I think that all ties in,
Right.
and what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
It's I wanted to touch on something that you had said was back in the day, when we started this journey, we'll call it a journey because we'll never end. I mean, it's a learning process the rest of our lives. If
Right.
we continue down this path, it's every day. I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay, there's something
Hadn't seen
else.
that before.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen that one before. Okay, well, okay. Like today, we had a windstorm. Well, one of our chicken cages got blown about 40 feet away, over top of an electric fence. And I'm like, wow, how did it get there? Never had that happen before. We've had that cage for 4 years now, and it's never been blown. Anyway, there you go, something new. But yeah, back when we started, we were our friends, we'll call them friends, the people we hung out with alienated us. They kind of not they were like, oh, those are weird people. They're like preppers or something. They're, oh, why don't you guys go out to eat? Why don't you go to the movies every Friday night? Why don't you go to the baseball game, basketball game, football, whatever coconut thing they're chasing? Um, I don't know, we just didn't. We just don't. It wasn't. We couldn't. We go to a church event or something like that. We're like, we gotta go, guys. We gotta put the animals to bed. We gotta go. We can't stay out
Right.
till whatever time of night because we have a
We have
responsibility.
things that we have to get
We have
done.
to do right. We have to be there for this. And people are like, oh, yeah, oh, they don't want to be. Oh, yeah, okay, well, then that's not the people we want to hang out with, anyways.
Sure.
So the real people that really wanted to hang out with us, and they would be involved because this is our life now. It's a lifestyle. It's not a fad. Some people might today.
It's
I'm
a
not.
it's a it's a life decision that you
It
make.
is. It is. People go to the store, they buy the baby chicks. Baby chicks die, and then because they left them out in the rain, I don't know, whatever people do with them, whatever.
And
And,
then
and now,
they go back to doing whatever they're doing.
exactly. And now, they're hitting up that Chick-fil-A place, and they're in line for 20 minutes getting that, and then it's wrong when they get it, and they're happy about
Or they're
it.
paying
And
$7 for pancakes.
or
Y-
$7 for pancakes, yeah, or 20 for their coffee or whatever
Right. And it's
So
and I mean you were far ahead of me, understanding, that concept. But it was the same for us, man. I mean, we're kind of going down that path ourselves. And for me, I mean, I look at the benefits of just, I don't know, living the way God intended for us to live. I don't
sure.
I mean, drinking fresh water, the water that's fresh as good as you can get it, right?
Right, right.
Eating chicken that's,
real.
I have real, not eating yoga mat meat,
Right.
not eating things that are not intended for the body. Like, I mean,
Right.
half of the ingredients on these food packaging is you can't even pronounce. You don't even know
Right.
what they are, you know? It's like,
Right.
um, the body doesn't need but so much nutrient. And when you start processing, micro processing, ultra processing, you're adding things to the body that it does not need. You're doing
Right.
that for a business perspective, some type of preservative or, longer shipping, longer
Yeah.
lasting, something,
Yeah.
durability, making a robust system. But for the body, it doesn't need that. It just needs sunlight, needs water, needs exercise. Like it's not,
Yeah.
there's no rocket science to it. And
Yeah.
for us, we started becoming not vocal, not like, being loud and proud or anything, but just like kind of separating ourselves from the societal norms of things. And
The
I started to
consumer,
watch
the consume, and you
the
get more into that.
the corporatocracy,
The corporate,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
And and I started to watch how people kind of silently started kind of pushing away, and
right,
they're like, it's kind of weird. But then they're laid into bed, almost 5 months a year, sick
right,
from various things that they
right,
never get a diagnosis for.
right,
And it's I'm not saying sick is a part of life, trials and tribulations, right? I mean, that's just part of life, learning, struggling, getting sick,
yes,
overcoming it. But when you're sick consistently like that, or when you um when your 5-year-old looks at you and says, "What is that?" and you go, "I don't even know what that is." At that point, you have to start to say, "There's a problem here."
sure,
And
sure,
yeah, I completely completely understand the direction that y'all went. And I've seen the alienation, man. It's kind of mind-boggling, right? When it first happened, you're like, really? That's how you but
that's it.
then yeah, you shut the world down, you're like, oh, I get it. And then you kind of
It
look
makes
back in time.
sense.
Yeah, you kind of look back in time around 1850 and you go,
Right.
oh, and then you look at other countries and you're like, oh, and that's where history starts to come in and the education
Right.
perspective. And
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, we're not doing this the right way, and
right.
so
Yeah, I
and
know.
I'm glad you shed some light on that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. As far as Nature's Cadence Farm is concerned, it's I don't know how far along you guys are, but if and a really cool thing, if you do have property, um, I'll throw this out there: get yourself out of your comfort zone. and
Sure.
and I'm gonna say that in, like, if it's raining, you still got to carry yourself out there and do something. Whatever it is, it could be the animals, it could be the whatever, something like that. If it's snowing, you still got to go outside. I mean, it doesn't matter. The other part of that comfort level I'm going to talk about real quick is, um, don't just let it go to grass. Don't keep it cut and manicured like a golf course, because there's a lot of beneficial things out there that are actually that are given to us that we can use, that's available. So, on Nature's Cadence Farm here, we can walk around and probably pick up 20 different beneficial species of plants that we let grow and cultivate and try to allow them
And
to
you
grow.
don't spray them to death.
We don't spray them to death. You're right. Yeah. That's the thing, so, like, some plants are considered weeds, dandelions. We'll just use that. It's a super easy one. People like, oh, dandelions. They even have little spray bottles you can hit there in your yard.
Gotta get them
Got to get
out.
them. They got to go. Where there's a lot of beneficial things that are in dandelions. We're not going to get into the whole that
Right.
spectrum, but we'll stick it to the homesteading. But I'm just saying that's part of homesteading. Is, again,
Un-
resources.
understanding what you're doing.
Yeah.
Uh, Next time, I know that you have mentioned in the past, Mrs. Cadence
Mhm.
is she's kind of your soul science guru. I would love to have
Yes.
y'all back on and we just talk. We covered the electrical side of things, so this is going to be a part of the hard hat series.
Yes.
But I'd like to have her on and we just strictly talk about just homesteading, understanding the earth, understanding, how it benefits us and why it's set up this way, and then how do you utilize that. I would love to have y'all on it,
Oh,
like as a pair.
absolutely. I will speak for her, would love to talk about dirt, and
It's
composting.
important, man.
It is.
Important. So important.
That's again, like I said, this might not, I might have not have said this. I know I've said it a million times. I've probably even told you. I am the mechanic. You need a fence put in, I'm on the fence, right? You need a,
Master electrician.
yeah, you need some wires pulled, I'm on that. You need a light switch, you got it. You need the trailer fixed, the truck's broke, it's going to get together, we're going to get it going again. But I'm telling you, Mrs. Cadence, she is the like you said, the scientist, the biologist, for the whole the farm here. She's got so much experience, and knowledge, and it goes beyond what she. Let's say, a lot of people could just read a book, and they say they're trained on that or whatever. That
Right. She's
hands
had her
on,
hands on it. Yeah.
hands on. We get into vermiculture. We grow worms. When I tell people we grow worms, they're like, you're crazy.
You're
And
crazy.
yeah, why are you growing worms? And it's like, well,
They're
you just don't
important, man.
understand. You just
They're
don't
part
understand.
they're part of it. They're
Right.
part
We're
of it.
composting wood chips right now with chicken manure in it. I mean, that's what we do. That's part of the. But she knows all this stuff, and she says she needs a wheelbarrow and a shovel. I go get it, and then she says, dump it right here, and okay, this is where you want it. Okay, dump it right there. And then it's like, and it magically things start happening. I don't, and so we use that.
And um I'm sure both of you go to bed at night exhausted.
Yes, many nights. But that's
It's
something
worth
somebody.
it though. It's
It
worth
is.
it.
Somebody told me when we bought this farm, we bought all this land. They were like, "Why are you buying something that you're going to kill yourself, maintaining and keeping up with?" I'm like, "Cause it's hard, and
Life's hard.
why?
Life's hard.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard. You're out there, you moving around. I don't have OCD in my knees or anything, so I'm pretty good with that.
Ah!
Uh, so I'm just saying,
But you know what, man? A lot of these problems that I hear from people, issues with well, I got these issues and this and that, and it's
right,
because your body's inactive. You're not
right,
doing enough.
right,
And it's a and I'm not, I believe there's a higher power. I'm not going to force that on anybody.
sure,
That's not right to do. But I believe that he set our bodies up to work. I believe that he
yeah,
set us up to do. Um, I think it glorifies him, and I believe that it. I believe that we really enjoy. I think that's why you have a sense of accomplishment when you do those things, and that's why I wanted to ask you that, because I'm sure you go to bed at night and you're like, I'm exhausted, but man, look at what the product we're making. And I mean,
sure.
that's a beautiful thing, man. That's so awesome.
It is. Yeah, I love it. You can ask Mrs. Cates. I love to work. I don't know. It's in my blood. I don't know why, how, whatever. I really enjoy that. Crawling underneath the dump truck to put the PTO shaft back on the whatever. I'm in. Sign me up. Yeah, yeah. It's dirty. It's
You don't want to
greasy.
go walk around the mall?
No, I really don't actually. Uh, but yeah, but yeah. I mean,
So let me we're drawing down on time. Let's finish this thing. Explain to us how. So Mr. Cadence tells me, um, he says, "Hey, my dump truck uh exhaust, it's got an issue. I'm gonna fix it with a clothes hanger."
right, right.
Explain
So,
it, and
all
he
right.
did, and this is a true story. He did. So explain how that works.
This is a true story. So, yeah, I mean, all right. This goes way back to working in maintenance. You got to get stuff done. There's no,
24/7.
I mean, we got to get stuff done. We got people waiting on us. So that literally it goes back to that. Where
Sure.
something's broke, you got to fix it. And, thankfully, when I was young, I worked at the place, my job, I was able to learn on their dime and their time. And with those skills I picked up, I can carry those to the rest of my life, all the way to
Right.
the end. Never take it away from me. I can, you know, carry those skills with me. So
Sure.
I worked with old timey guy, Richard Pentecost is his name. People called him Tex. Tex, rest in peace. Um, awesome dude. Awesome dude. Taught me we worked together for about a year, and then he retired. But he needed a job. The place he worked at shut down. He needed a job and shut down until he retired, and he got a job there. I'm so thankful. I learned so much from him. He's actually the one who taught me how to weld with a coat hanger and a cutting torch, and that's one of those skills that has carried me. And I see a thin piece of metal that's steel, it's coat hanger and a brazen tip all day. And it needs to be, that's it right there, and it's all these things are so plentiful. Um, Coat hangers, people throw them away all the time. I've picked up so many coat hangers, it's not funny. But I mean, what did it cost me to fix that thing? 20 minutes
Nothing.
underneath the truck, you
Yep.
know, and a cutting torch set. I'm gonna tell you guys, if you get a farm and you want to work on your own junk,
Gotta have a court and touch or
you
cutting
got you,
torch.
you got cutting torch set. You got to, and it's expensive. I spent 2 week paycheck. We used to get paid every 2 weeks. I spent a whole 2 weeks worth of paycheck on a cutting torch set and two bottles
But you
when I
still
was
have
young.
it.
But I still have them. Right, I still have them. I had them for 24 years now. Let's just say back
Yep.
in 2000, I think is when I bought them.
Tools will work for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But that's how that came about. I'm like, we got a broke truck. We got to get this thing back together. She got to get
Man,
back
when
on the
you told
road.
me I had never heard that before. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I'd never heard that. And I halfway kind of thought when you first mentioned it, I kind of thought you were joking around. But then I get a picture
Yeah.
and it's like the before and after, and I was like, can't keep a good dog down.
You
You just
can.
can't do it.
You can. You can. You give me just a little bit of knowledge, I'm gonna take it to the limit.
That's
So,
awesome, man. Well, hey man, thank you for coming on, dude. I had a good time. Um, next
well, thank you
time,
for having me.
yeah, man, absolutely. I think this is really good for the young folks, man, in today's society, to hear from somebody experienced like yourself. Um, and this will go on the Hard Hat series. For anybody
Sweet.
listening, it'll be in the Hard Hat playlist. But next time I'm gonna have you and your wife on, and we're gonna go into the whole homesteading side of things, man.
Let's do it.
All righty, man. Hey, I'll talk to you later, buddy. Thank you
All right,
so
man.
much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
See you, man.